Hey everyone, I just want to take a second to let you know that Advanced has now released 3 brand new energy flavors in cans, and they're carbonated, which is awesome. I've only had this one so far. Tastes awesome. They're doing a soft launch right now, and you can visit the link down below and use code SCARE9 for 10% off if you are interested in trying them. And let's just get into this review. Hey everyone, so the first Descendant is a brand new looter shooter. It's a third-person RPG character-based looter shooter, and Nexon was nice enough to send me some pre-beta codes, and so I got to play with my friends and a couple other content creators for like 7 to 10 hours, somewhere in there. I was not paid at all for this, so you don't have to worry. I'm not holding back. I'm going to talk about the things I liked. I'm going to talk about the things that I think that could be improved, and talk about things I'm very cautiously optimistic about. So, what is the first Descendant? I just kind of gave you the overall description, but what makes it stand apart? Why would you not just go play any of these other games? And I've got to say, the thing that I enjoyed the most about the first Descendant was the character system. So in the first Descendant, there are 10 characters, and we got accounts that were maxed out and brand new accounts. And so the accounts that were maxed out, there were 10 players. I'm not sure if that is like the final number, 10 characters, but there were 10 playable characters. They were all maxed out. They all had their own sets of abilities. They all had their own unique voice lines and unique styles of play. So for instance, there's like a speedster and like a warlock type of deal, or like a magician, I guess, like a fire guy. There's an ice magician. There's like tanks. There's people who have like turrets and guns and stuff. There's a poison build. They all felt very, very unique, which was pretty cool. The really cool thing was that each of these characters were leveled individually, and you could switch between them pretty much at any time. You just have to return back to a social space. You can switch to a character and you get access to that level of the character, all of their abilities, all of that stuff, and you can just start playing right away. There's no like separate accounts. Your story progress is shared amongst all characters, or at least that's what it seemed like. So that was pretty cool. So if you were feeling like doing a speedster and speeding through some like general missions, you could do that. If you wanted to, go from fire and then go to ice, it took like a couple of minutes. You could very easily do that, which is something that, at least to my knowledge, not a lot of looter shooters do. It's my understanding that maybe like Final Fantasy 14 does this. I've never played, but I had a couple friends who were making that comparison. And I think like Warframe maybe used to do that, or I don't know. I've never played Warframe, but it's something that is very unique, at least to me. And each of the characters did feel quite different, which was really cool. Other than that, I think the game was very beautiful, very well optimized. We were told to play like on medium settings, I think, and the game still looked very, very good. It felt very well optimized. I didn't get a lot of stuttering or anything like that. The environments were really cool. We got to play in like a snowy area and like a cave area, and also like an EDZ, like earthy, old abandoned fortress type area too. And everything felt and looked really good. What I will say is another thing that makes this game stand apart is that every single character gets a grapple hook, and it's on a slight cooldown, but you can use the grapple hook to get around. It felt pretty good. Just a lot of movement, especially for a third-person game. If you're new to the channel, I'm very critical of third-person games. It's very rare to find a third-person game, in my opinion, that feels anywhere near as good as a first-person game. At least in my opinion, first-person shooters specifically just have such fluidity to them, or they enable a new level of fluidity and connection to the gameplay. And I've got to say, out of all the third-person games I've played, thinking about like Mass Effect, Dead Space, Outriders, things like that, this one might feel the smoothest off the top of my head, which was, it was a nice little surprise. All the gunplay, guns, in my opinion, in third person never really translate quite as well. But every type of gun felt very usable. If you think about games like Outriders, it's really like shotgun, maybe some snipers. Those are the usable things. But in this game, all of the classes felt pretty well balanced, and they were all usable, at least in the build that we played. I will also say that the main attraction for this sort of game is just ability spam. As I mentioned, each of these 10 characters have their own abilities, and this game relies very heavily on just running and spamming fire bolts and all of this stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool. The enemy density could have been a little bit higher, I think. We were also on like accelerated level accounts. So like when we started on new accounts, we were gaining levels, I think twice as fast as a normal account. So we were also just kind of like burning through everything. I would like to see a little bit more difficulty in the game, but we did not get to even come close to the end game. So I don't really know what that portion of the game looks like. But everything felt pretty good gameplay wise. Now, I have a couple other notes here. One thing that if you like build crafting, you're going to love this game. There's an absolutely insanely intricate modification system. Every gun had like 5 mods, or they're called runes in this game, that you can like craft and combine. It was incredibly overwhelming. The game was constantly showering us with loot. And so if you like build crafting, this game, right up your alley. Like, I'm talking 30 points of build crafting per character. It was absolutely insane. So it's something that I'm interested to get more time with during the actual beta. Let's see, what was the gameplay like? So we did, like I said, we got like a pre-beta. So there were 2 main activities that we got to do. One was kind of like the regular story, I think. And the best way I can describe this is like, think about like a Destiny patrol zone. Like, you land down, let's say like you go to the EDZ, and then think that there were like 10 more advanced patrols that you had to do, but like in sequence. And then when you did all of those, then you could go to the next area. And so we got access to 3 areas. It looks like there's 7 or 8 on the map, if not more. And so I'm a little, I think there does need to be a little bit more, I hope, content with a little bit more depth than that. It's just like running like a big circle around a zone and then moving to the next one. Very similar to a game like Outriders, I would say. It was good, it was fine. Some of the objectives did get a little repetitive after a while, but like I said, this is a very, very early build of the game, and we only got to see a little sliver, so I can't really speak to the wider variety of content. One thing I can speak to is the second type of content we got access to, which were called void intercepts. These are really cool. Think about strikes, but only the bosses. And each of the bosses, they were giant, they had unique mechanics, and they got very difficult. Even on fully leveled accounts with like max level gear, we could only kill like the first 4. And I think there were like 7 or 8. It was very difficult. You're gonna need very well optimized builds to do this, I think. And that's something that really excites me. I don't know what other parts of the end game are going to look like, but void intercepts are a lot of fun. They gave you a lot of loot, and I think them in themselves are a solid addition to an end game. I just hope there's maybe something more equivalent to like raids going forward, but we don't really have any info on that at this point. Yeah, I would say that's like all of the good stuff. I think the gameplay felt really good. The graphics are beautiful. The game feels pretty well optimized. The character select system is very cool. Lots of ability spams. Downsides, I've already mentioned this. Enemy density felt a little low, especially, if you're just kind of like rolling over everything. And the main downside, in my opinion, was the story. You can tell Nexon put a lot of thought and time into crafting this story. It's just so overwhelming. It's very similar to something like Destiny, where when your character arrives, or you start playing, you're in the middle of a story, and it's so hard. It's like, okay, what happened? Who is this guy? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Whereas something like Outriders, Outriders was like, you started at the beginning, and then you kind of got the world built up and built up and built up. If you like worlds with just insane webs of lore and story, the first Descendant is definitely going to be right up your alley. I found it incredibly overwhelming, but that's something that will be addressed as I play the game more. So that's pretty much all my initial thoughts. I highly recommend you try out the beta. Like I said, it's free. It comes out October 20th. Give it a couple hours and see if you like it. I think it was a lot of fun, and it's something I'm going to at least check out for like the main story, sort of like I did for Outriders. And I'm very excited to get more hands-on time, and hopefully get a lot of my questions answered by the devs. For instance, are there raids, or what's the end game look like, and stuff like that. But as a looter shooter, it's definitely the best looking looter shooter I've ever seen, especially as a third-person looter shooter. It looks very, very good, and it's free. So it's something I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on and playing more of with the beta and the full release of the game. I'm very excited to get more hands-on with it. So let me know what you guys think about all of this. Are you interested? Are you going to try the beta? I highly recommend it. Yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, consider subscribing. We're definitely going to be doing more First Descendant content. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.